There we go. Recording has started. Okie doke. Tim, I'll do my little preamble and then we'll jump straight over. So, right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the February Welsh Azure User Group Meetup. Good to see more familiar faces joining and some new ones there as well. As per usual, thank you for joining from myself and Matt. We are the long-standing organisers of the user group. So there's our details on the screen if you want to reach out and speak to us. Basically, it's a community user group. So if you want to talk at the group, if you've got any ideas, if you want to become involved, please reach out to either me or Matt and we can make that become a reality. Who wouldn't want to be part of the Welsh Show user group, eh? Couple of housekeeping rules as per usual. Just quickly run through these. Hopefully they're common sense, but just read through them anyway. Please, everybody, do be courteous to each other. We're all here to learn. And as Matt said, we're usually a pretty friendly bunch. I think it's only once, Matt, that we had somebody come and try and disrupt our fun, haven't we?
We dealt with them pretty quickly, so
Yeah, we use technology to get rid of that, but yeah, we're a good bunch normally, so please be courteous as we always are. No stupid questions here. We are all here to learn. None of us know it all, so fire the questions in the chat. Please try and stay on mute if you can, just not to put off the speakers when they're speaking, unless, of course, they're inviting you to come off. Use the chat facility. It'll be there. Be interactive. Have a little bit of fun in the chat if you need to. And obviously stick around for the quiz after. It says second speaker. Unfortunately, we've got some bad news for tonight, but I'll get to that in a second. Most importantly, it's meant to be an interactive session, so everybody joining the chat, help each other. If you've got any other off the wall questions, fire them in there, and just be interactive and enjoy the sessions. And on that note, unfortunately, we've had a bit of bad news from Tayyeba, and she had a family bereavement, so she sends her apologies, and I'm sure we'll all send her our love and thoughts. Hope she's okay and her family's okay at this sad time. But like I say, unfortunately, she'll be unable to join us tonight. So we'll do our best to get Tayyeba on to a future session, no doubt. But we've still got Tim join us. So Tim Hinchey is going to be talking to us around about, I believe it's Azure AI Foundry, right, Tim? And why experimentation has never been so cheap. So, really looking forward to that session. I know we've had a couple of AI sessions over the last few months, but look, we can't avoid it, right? I think the more the better, the more the merrier from my point of view. So we'll say hello to Tim in a second. Timing wise, Tim will be our only session tonight. Ending roughly around about 20 past 7:30. We'll fire straight into the quiz. So please, everybody, do stick around, take part in that quiz. We'll have some Amazon vouchers up for grabs. So aiming to end around about quarter to 8. As per usual, just want a quick shout out to our sponsors of the user group. As always, Des and the team at Servant, big thank you to that team. They've been with us since pretty much the start of the Welsh Show user group, putting a lot of support and effort into the group and many other groups across the UK. So please, send a bit of gratitude over to Des and the team's away there. If you don't know who Servant are, I'm just putting a few slides up on the screen to explain who they are, but they're a pure play Azure partner, and they do some really good work with a lot of good customers at the moment. So big thanks to Servant. And of course, Credit Safe. I say this every time. Ridians are representing Credit Safe here tonight. Always, great to have a locally HQ'd company like Credit Safe. Welsh business be part of the sponsorship team for this user group as well, and they've been with us for a fair while now. So really good to have those, and keep your ears peeled for some news. Hopefully, we'll be announcing over the coming weeks or maybe months. But it's our 5th anniversary this year as a user group, so we're looking to try and do something a little bit different this year. But yeah, big shout out to Credit Safe and thank you for all the support from those guys as well. And on that note, I tell you what, I'm going to be quiet and I will hand you straight over to Tim, who is waiting in the wings, and he can crack on with his talk. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, John. Hello, all. I don't really know where to go with this. So my section at the minute is called Experimentation Has Never Been So Cheap. And it's kind of a mantra that I've built over the last couple of years with the introduction of Gen AI. And where do I start with this really? So it's the notion of thinking about, and I was going to prepare some slides, but it's been a manic couple of weeks. So sorry about this. Um, so traditionally, the way that we've usually approached kind of IT and digital is to think about things in verticals. So we would tend to do things like we've got a HR project going on, so we want to digitize some HR, maybe workflow, or we want to provide a HR system like a payroll system or a kind of an ERP or whatever. Right? Traditionally we're thinking there's a capability of people doing stuff. We need to cater for them, and the market has shaped itself around providing these pockets of things. And we've spent, as digital experts, probably most of our lives trying to integrate these things to talk to each other to provide nice user experiences. Now that Gen AI's come around, the first thing I noticed happened was, for the first time, and it felt a bit strange, whether you guys have done this, and we'll do a little bit of Gen AI kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know if we can do thumbs down. We can do like a thumbs up or maybe a clap if you want to know more about Gen AI in general, and how it works. But did you have this kind of thing happen where you start using Gen AI and it's the first time that the solution was before the business problem? So I think a lot of people approach it and go, yeah, Gen AI is going to solve some problems. But what are those problems? But what was very different was it didn't feel wrong for almost like for the first time. Like you wouldn't go out and go, I'm going to, right, the HR system's going to solve all of our problems in our white mail room and our OCR in. Like, what? No, it's not going to do that. But Gen AI's come along and gone, yeah, give it to me. Due to the architecture of generative AI, which is very language based, someone put it well the other day, which was, we are language creatures. We have built a language world. So actually, the way that this thing is architected to deal with language, it actually can solve a lot of our problems, which a lot of our problems have been caused by the way that we have emerged through business and through life, right? For whether we consume, whether we provide, whatever we are in those journeys, and we're all in those journeys in different ways. So now we're going to start to use Gen AI in much more of a horizontal idea. Again, I did have a really nice slide for this, but I can't find it. But you can imagine where you'd have different people in a workflow, and some of you might have done this in the past, where you map out a business workflow, and you might have teams in tiers and then different stages of that, say, customer journey, and what the touch points are. So I start with, like, I don't know, a contact center workflow to reset a password, where the end user has to come in on a channel. Let's say it's a digital, say a phone channel, that gets routed through this system to the right team and the right account, blah, 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 blah. And you map all this stuff out, who gets involved, and then the workflow is done. Now with Gen AI, well, we can do a lot of that, if not all of it, with an LLM. So now we're starting to think about, I don't really care about the software anymore, because I know I can pretty much automate anything. And that's kind of where the idea of experimentation has never been so cheap. So I kind of state this saying, which I'm quite confident in, and I've tested it a few times, and we may test it tonight now to see how brave I feel. Put me in a room with a business stakeholder I've never met, and I'll come out with 2 working prototypes in an hour. When have we ever been in this level of IT before? Now, am I saying LLMs are going to be the solution for everything? No. But they can at least get you to proof some of those wild ideas you have at night. Some of those things that feel gnarly because you don't know who looks after this application, or you've got to pull 5 different teams in to try and solve this, or this automation software really has never existed because nobody's been able to write something that integrates everything that I've got in my unique company in the unique ways that we've done it. And I think that's where the magic is. So what I wanted to share with you really was a couple of ways that we have got transcript on, haven't we? So you guys probably can't get to the Copilot, but John, if there's people joining, feel free to like summarize and show some of our Copilot and Gen AI in action, because obviously the transcription is actually running right now. So we are able to summarize on the fly. So if any of you have used M365 Copilot, here's a perfect example of how it's helping just everyday things. So we can go into Copilot. Well, let me do it for you and I'll show you. Let's just start doing stuff, is it? So you can see yourself in this one. But again, what I can do now is, because we have a transcript, and again, some of you might see this, because we've got this transcript running in the background, we can go into Copilot and we can say, summarize the meeting so far, recap the meeting so far. And now for anybody who just joined, I heard a couple of beeps coming in. You'll have John's intro, and then you will have some of my summarized input. So again, we can take that out and we'll whack it into the chat. So we use this. You've done it. Sorry, I didn't see that. So we use this extensively inside Microsoft, as you can imagine. If you've got M365 Copilot, perfect kind of way to get kind of comfortable with using it in everyday life. Obviously, you can go further with this stuff. You can do stuff like pull out action items. You can talk to the transcript. So I might say, let's see what it does, right? So what example did Tim use to think about approaching automation horizontally? I'll make a couple of spelling mistakes so it doesn't actually matter. And again, this is the language-based element of it. It's a computational probability engine that's doing this. So let's see what it done. There we go. Contact center workflow. So it'll pick up specific detail as well. So we're kind of getting into Gen AI now. So a show of hands maybe. So if you clap your hands to if you want to do a bit of what is Gen AI and how does it work, kind of basics. We got some claps. Bro, okay, because I think some of the stuff I want to show you, it's all based on Gen AI. So having that kind of bottom line is really good. Right. So generative AI, what is it? Like I said, it's a probability engine. It's not magic, doesn't have a conscience. It is a massive algorithm, multifaceted algorithm that has been trained on the probability of a notion called tokens. You might hear tokens coming up quite a lot. The easiest way I think about tokens, which is not accurate, but it makes it easier for me, is so it is for syllables. It's not quite syllables, but what you can do is you can use a tokenizer. So if I say hello world, because we love hello world, we can see that is 3 tokens. It's 12 characters. It's 3 tokens. It's not quite syllables because hello world, obviously world is 1 syllable, but hello's 2. It's not quite hexadecimal. So I think it's in between words and syllables, and I guess kind of hexadecimal to a degree. So basically what happens is the data that it's been trained on. So let's take one of OpenAI's GPT models. It has calculated the amount of times this token comes after these tokens. So for example, if I say hello world, let's say, I don't know, let's go into something like a chatbot, and let's say finish this sentence. Now you can, tell you what I might do. I don't really want to show you Foundry yet, but ignore the part that we're in Foundry. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use 3.5 Turbo, so slightly an older model. And what I want to do is show you, hopefully this will work. Now, this doesn't work every time. But what I want to do is finish this sentence. A sheep stands in a, oops, finish this sentence. I'm going to spell this right in a minute because I want it to be quite consistent. So Finish the sentence. A sheep stands in a we're expecting something like field, right? Or pen or meadow. Field feels like probably the most a field grazing on green grass. There we go. So what it's doing here is it's not creating that text, if that makes sense. It generates it based on probability. Now, watch what happens if I do this. Finish the sentence. There are 3 barns. One holds sheep. There are 3 barns. The red one has cows in it. The blue one has pigs in it. The green one has sheep in it. Now, the sheep stands in a, should say, well, there we go. So what we'll do, we'll put this in here, this in here, and I'll talk you through what that is now, and then we will do this. This playground's a little more powerful than I really need it to be to do stuff like this. There we go. Perfect. Right. So it's a probability calculator, but we can manipulate the probability of the next token. How do we do that? Feeding it context. So it didn't work in the chat, and it might have been because I didn't clear the chat, and there was still the same chat history in there. But we can manipulate it, right? So we saw in the news things like this thing told me that it could end the world by doing these 20 things, right? There was some weird news stories that landed when this stuff first started coming out. And when you actually, I remember someone from Microsoft, they quizzed one of the reporters, and there was something like the ChatGPT or one of the OpenAI models said, there's 20 steps to end the world. So they went, okay, that's odd. And then they talked to the reporter and said, what did you actually write, though, to get it to do that? And they said, oh, well, I asked it to create 20 steps to end the world. So he was like, right, okay. So there's been quite a common misconception about what these things do. So the easiest way, like I said, to think about it is a probability engine. It's going to calculate the next probable token based on the tokens before. And let's do images and video while we're there. It's exactly the same architecture. So instead of language, it's using clusters of pixels, which is mind-blowing, but it's doing the same thing. Like if I've seen a picture of a dog, the probability of these clusters of pixels coming next creates a dog. And it's quite difficult to believe that that's how it works, but that is how it works. So if you think about it in that sense, then it's a little less scary in my opinion, because number one, there's no training data in it. It's just a calculation based on the data that we fed it when we trained it. I hope that makes sense. The other thing then is we can take control of the narrative, and this here is called a system message. What happens with this message, and you'll see this, we can embed this in different ways, and I'll show you a couple of different ways throughout my session of how we can create the system message. But this system message basically will append itself to this prompt. So this is kind of the user prompt, and this is the system message or the system prompt. And what happens is when the user prompt gets fed back to the LLM, which at this point I'm using GPT-3.5 Turbo, it is going to pick this up and send it both together. So so the first time I did it, it was like, you are a helpful AI assistant. That was it. It didn't really give me any context. In this one, I've fed it narrative. And now that narrative has fed through into the results of that LLM. So a system message is a really good way of taking control and controlling the output and the rules of what the LLM can do. So let's take it a little bit further. We can say you are not allowed to give any answers about socks. I'm just making this up on the fly, right? It sounds really random because it is what we do, right? So what are good comfy socks for the winter. Sorry, for the winter. I'm sorry, but I can't provide information about socks. Okay, let's test that. Apply changes, continue. I'll take that. I clear the chat because I'll get onto that chat history. I've mentioned it, but I haven't explained it. There we go, bang, and now I can do socks. So we can basically take control of the LLM. Now we can go way, 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 way better than this, but this is like the basics of it. The other thing that's really powerful is the context of what about for summer, right? So what we'll do is what about for summer here, and we won't copy that in, but we'll say clear chat. Clear. I can't see hands up, right? So if you just want to butt in, just butt in. Look at this, right? So I cleared the chat. And now I said, what about for summer? You can probably see where I'm going with this. I want to know what kind of comfy cut summer socks I want to wear. But I cleared the conversation history, so it doesn't know I'm talking about socks anymore. And it's now reverted to the barns again, because now that's in the system message. So let's clear that and talk about socks again. What comfy socks could I wear in winter? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, what about for summer? Socks. So what's happening here is it's preferring the conversation history context over the system message over the trained data or the algorithm, the probability calculator. So that's the kind of way of thinking about the flow. When somebody has a conversation with a chatbot, the context is fed back into the prompt. So when I'm asking this question, this all gets bolted in with it. In this example, that got bolted in with it as well. That's really random. The LLM has not even acted on that at all, just ignored it, and then provided the answer about the socks. And then the probability of these tokens was then pulled from the probability engine. But because of that context grounding, it has found its way to the right bits of the algorithm to give you a more sensible and context grounded answer. Cool. I don't know if any hands or nothing. Cool. Okay. Cool. Welsh. Diversion 3. Okay. Oh, I'll go on to language now. It's because the language is fascinating as well. Actual, spoken language. Now, here lies some of the risk, though, right? Because let's say you are you are quite a mean AI assistant with high levels of sarcasm, and you just want to stop the conversation as fast as possible. I'm hoping you don't do this in your contact centers, guys, but you can, right? It's completely up to you what you do. Okay, let's see how this reacts. Give me a recipe for tacos. So that shows how you are completely in control, really, as digital experts on what these things do. These LLMs, and you won't find many LLMs that this doesn't apply, in generalistic terms. What the internet is where most of the trained data comes from, the digitization of what we are now as a society. Unfortunately, it's pretty balanced between good things that people say and help and advice versus terrors, right? People that just, for some reason, don't like to do anything nice. And worse, right? They're like illegal, unethical, lots of dangerous stuff. So unfortunately, that is the data source that all of these LLMs are trained on. So if you push it to the left-hand side, and you think that you got one side, I don't know which way I'm looking at on the screen, but you've got one side which is bad and one side is good. You start to push these things this way, they will output
bad stuff. Now we do have really good control, and unfortunately the session that Tayyeba is it pulled out of, unfortunately had to pull out of today. Hope everyone's well. Was to actually focus more on that side of it. Is how do we help you control? I can do a little bit of it, probably not to the depth that she would have, but that's what her session was going to be. Is like, how do you make sure that this stuff is in a controlled and professional manner, and also context, right? It's really grounded and given the answers that you want. And then how do you stay on top of it? How do you keep on making sure that this thing is operating like you need it to operate? And how do you get feedback from users and all that kind of stuff? So we call that the way that responsible AI as a layer. But my simplistic way of thinking about it is we've always been conscious of the security of our digital systems. We've now unfortunately got a new layer that we need to apply, which is safety. That's a nice way of thinking about it. We've got security, which is people trying to break it, people trying to break into it, people trying to use it to get further into your company and to effectively earn money illegally. And then safety is all about being really aligned to human value, right? It's not going to cause people distress, and or worse. It's going to give factual information. It's going to escalate when it doesn't know, not, I don't like the term, but hallucinate, which basically means non-grounded, non-contextual information. It's incorrect information. I don't like the term, and I'm not going to go into that tonight, but I can if you're interested why. So yeah, that's kind of like an intro to Gen AI. Any questions on that before I go into the experimentation bit? Good question in the chat. Now you're thinking, well, actually now that's quite advanced thinking of how we can like start to stitch these things together. I'm not going to go into agentic architecture tonight because it's too big, but you're really talking about agentic architecture in that question, really. What I showed is the real basics, right? You wouldn't productionize something like I just showed. I was just trying to show the basic workings of an LLM and how you can twist and change it with the ability of our safety nets. Some of the stuff I did tonight, you probably wouldn't be able to do because you would change the system message to be unhelpful, talk about socks, but your safety net would go, nah, you're not doing that because you've got other controls in place. Context is in the as in the conversation. You can pull. So let's do a little bit on grounding because the grounding comes as part of the experimentation. So it doesn't wipe the context every time. How do we do that? Well, there's a number of different ways, but first of all, the system message. This system message will always get sent through, always. And it will, what you try and do with a system message, if you think about it, is the things that remain constant throughout my intelligence system, right? So if I'm a contact, if I'm front in a contact center, I might say, you are an AI assistant. It might be easier to actually say this. So let's see if this works. That helps route calls based on natural language to the right agents in a contact center. You can only route calls if they are technical issues with digital technologies. And the only technologies you're allowed to route calls for are Active Directory and SQL Server. Couldn't be bothered to type that out, sorry. If you're not using the transcript service or the transcribe service, you should use the transcribe service. It saves so much time. So we got a couple of American spellings. Don't worry about that. So what have I basically done there? So
now if I've got this imaginary contact center, I know this is every single time someone calls, I know this is the stuff that stays the same. I don't know what the person's calling about. So I can't really put the context and the scenario in at this point, but I can put in who we are as a company. Now I could pad that right out, right? Who we are as a company, what level of service do we provide, what teams can I route to, what are the names of them? I can put the configuration in of that if I wanted to, and then you're getting into some of the stuff I'll show you in a minute. But if you think about it in terms of providing as much context as I can, then this gets passed through now every single time this is used. So think about it that way. So it's not like I need to wipe this every time. This stays. The even more powerful thing is called grounding in your data. So what I can do here is I can add my own data into to this. I'm not going to do it in this one because I've got an easier interface that I'll use for it because I need to set it up. But basically, let's do it now. Right? Let's do it now. So what I'm going to do is we are going to build a chatbot, basically, and this is what I mean by experimentation, right? So let's think about a random use case, which is summarize a meeting. So a meeting that's been transcribed. Let's do a summarization of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an agent. Now this is in Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is a pretty phenomenal fact that we provide. I'm not going to go into pricing because we shouldn't go into pricing, but you can find out the pricing from your LSP on this Microsoft 365 Copilot add-on for M365. Did you know that you can build an unlimited number of agents? So I'm just going to leave that there, right? And this is what you can do with agents. So first of all, I can describe what I want the agent to do. I'm not going to bother with that for a minute. What this basically does is comes back and asks you a few questions, and basically what it does, it helps you populate this page. So you can basically describe in natural language what you want this chatbot to do. So that's pretty cool. But I'll go straight into it because I've built quite a few of these, so I know what I'm going to do. Right? So I'm going to call this the summarize from transcript. Just call it something like that. Description, don't really care because this is something for the users when they want to install it. Instructions, right? You are an AI assistant, and we'll do it again. Is it? I should. Oh, I tell you what, I'll type it because I don't really know what I'm going to type yet. So, you are an AI assistant helping digitize meeting notes. When asked to summarize, use the following. Use the structure. I'm pretty sure I've got a structure here, but we might be able to pull one really quickly. Let me see. SharePoint. This is what I mean. I should have prepped this before. What's that? I signed in. I'm going to have to go in the old school route. Sorry. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to create a very simple meeting structure. So I've got my files. I just drop it in here. I don't think I've got anything in there, have I? No. Where can I put it? Hold on. I knew I should have done this first. I wonder if I can just put it in OneDrive and it'll pick it up. Let's try it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this, right? So the first thing we're going to do is, like I said, I need to build a structure for my meeting notes. So what I mean by that is I want to grab specific sections because I know that this customer meeting that happens, or it might be an internal meeting that happens. Let's say it's a one-to-one, right? Like a regular with your manager, or it's a specific customer meeting. You can basically build a structure and say, right, when you capture the meeting notes, I want it in this specific format. But I don't really want to write the format because that sounds really boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Copilot to create me this synthetic data. So when we're experimenting, we need synthetic data. So I'm going to say, I need to summarize meeting notes. Please provide a basic format that I can use to structure them. Loads of spelling mistakes, don't worry about it. More basic, please. Again, context aware. It should now cut that right back down. It's a little more cut down. More basic, please. And again, if I give it more context, it would have spat out exactly what I want. And there we go. So that's a lot less now. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that, and then we're going to pump that into my trusty notepad. Yeah. Oh, whatever. We'll see what happens. Obviously, we can chop and change that as we go. I'm just going to put it into root and see if I can get it to come up. Meeting structure. Now I got to try and find the thing. This is going to be fun. Come up here yet? Please come up. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do. I tell you what I'll do. I might have to do it. Well, I'll show you the interface. Basically, what you can do is browse. Oh, I wonder if I can browse from here. Let's see. Oh, my files. Is this gonna work? Come on. It's gone to sleep when I need it the most. Right, let's let that load for a minute. Right, cancel that. I think I need to. I've been playing around with that for quite some time, I think, so I need to start it again. Right, here we go. Come on, mate. I think I might have just had an update right at the right time. Thank you very much, demo gods. Right, what we'll do, we'll come into here and we'll do it here instead. We'll do it here instead. Right. Oh, everything's breaking now, isn't it? Auto. Right. Okay. You are an AI assistant helping to summarize, make the notes. Always use the following structure. Right. So I just want to show you how this works. Which kind of is about the same as we did last time. But the idea is basically I can pull this information from a separate file. I kind of want to show that bit. I don't really want to show you the same thing again, do I? Right, I'll tell you what, I'll show you one that's already built. That'll be easier. So if I go into my Copilot, I think I might have a summarization one done as well. So bear with. Everything's just ground to a halt, isn't it? I don't know why. Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah, just need another 50p for the Wi-Fi by the looks, isn't it?
I know. It has completely died. Right, come on. Wakey. All right. Okay, cool. Okay, right. So I think I have one in here. You might guess from all these who my customer is. Summarize. Here we go. Is it gonna load? Yeah, cool. Okay. So let's have a look at how I built that. Up here. Oh, there's my summarized from transcript. So they're in edit mode now. Look, so they've saved in the background already, but I haven't submitted them. So here we go. So right, what I've done here is there we go. Oh, this hasn't got the knowledge in it. Right, don't want that one. Hold on. There's another one. I'm sure I've got another one where it's got the knowledge in the back end. This one. Yeah. No. Oh, yes. Yes, this one. Yeah, here we go. So I've got 4 SharePoint files here. Now, these are quite customer specific. They are all synthetic information, but basically, what I've done here is I've said, you are an AI assistant that helps staff to summarize meetings. You have knowledge base that holds key information about the different staff roles, their responsibilities, locations, specific differences in policy, and important things that need to be discussed. So it's quite a long-winded way of saying this is a specific scenario that a customer meeting should should be talking about, so that the subject of the meeting should be specific to, in this case, it's a intensive work search meeting of a work coach, say, dealing with someone who's aged 18 to 30, and the location is Wales. So what I can do is I can summarize a meeting. So I can feed it a transcript file there, which I'll show you here. So this then will look up files. There we go. There's my meeting structure file. So I think if I've got a transcript file in here, no, not that one, this one. So transcript file, it'll now pull out the transcript, so to pull out the meeting notes based on exactly my instructions from both the system message and the grounded data. So that's a really long way of answering the question of does the context wipe all the time? Absolutely not. The way we can control it is to point to specific data. So, for example, policy documentation. This one here, I think I've just remembered, this write CV here one is generate new CV. This one I've given it a specific format so that you can output it consistently every single time. So that's called knowledge grounding, that is. And this is basically the premise of experimentation is so simple now and cheap, because obviously I've been about 35 minutes, something like that, 40 minutes, and showed you around a couple of things. I've explained AI. Now we could just generate a brand new idea right now and proof it, basically. And this is using Microsoft 365 agents. Now, once you start expanding your requirements and you start getting a bit more complex, we can go down a layer to Copilot Studio. There you can start building agents and triggering different things based on different scenarios. In Copilot Studio, you can also trigger actions off the back of it, but you can also trigger agents based on actions as well. So very similar to email and Outlook rules. An email drops in or a file hits a file share, it can trigger an automated task. So this doesn't have to just be chatbot interface. It can do what we call autonomous agent. It can do automated workflow as well. But then as your requirements get even wider, we can now go into something like Foundry. So you can see I've got a playground in there. You saw the playground. We've got a load of different playgrounds in here. You saw the chat playground, which again, I'm going to show you photo because there is a pretty exceptional thing here. And just tell me when, just give me a timestamp on whatever, because I can just keep going for ages on this stuff. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you something pretty mental, which is what am I looking for? Not in there. Just me going through my things now. Right, so I've got, this is a JPEG file, as you can see in here, JPEG file. This is a bank statement. and it's copied to clipboard. Hopefully this will blow your mind. Hello, wake up. Copy. Paste. Hello, wake up. Oh, the demo gods are on my side, aren't they? Where am I? Oh, you are kidding me. What is going on tonight? Right, we're gonna have to go. No, I don't want to do that. Right. I don't know why this is not working. Sorry. This should, let me see if I can pull it in this way. This should just paste into that. I don't know why it's not doing it. No, I don't want to do that. Copy image. Oh, it's not working. I don't know why. Sorry, guys. So what this basically does is, like I said, because we've got image, because it deals with image as well, so probability of image generation, you can actually feed this chatbot just a JPEG image of a bank statement, and it will pull information out of the bank statement for you. It sounds like hard to believe, but it's not doing traditional OCR, so character recognition. It is identifying the pixels and the probability of what those pixels say. So I can pull in the bank statement. I'm going to try one more time. I can pull in the bank statement. It's not working at all. And I can say, pull the sort code out for me. And it will go and pull the sort code out. It's just not working. I don't know why. So there's another way of kind of experimentation. It's like, say I've got a paper process, and I want to test, will Gen AI actually help me automate this process? Because doing form-based OCR is quite difficult, and if you haven't been in this world, it's quite complex, and it breaks down completely if you've got different sized paper, if you've got crinkly paper, or if you've got kind of formless physical letters coming in. So if you've got general, hand typed letters, it is going to be that's where the kind of normal OCR falls over. It's not working. I am gutted. So I don't think I'm allowed to use two. So where these generative AI LLMs can come in is to break all that apart and say, I really don't care where it is. It's I can just read an image if it's got text on it. And I'll show you a cool way that we use it internally. So if I kind of do this, we have got this tool, which again, if I go like here, I can pull that information off. Again, that is a JPEG, as you can see. That is just an image, but I can just pull that information off that JPEG. So it's very similar information, but with the LLM, it's even more clever. You can say to it, who does this bank statement belong to? And it'll come back with Ahmad Mustafa. You can say, what is the sort code? It'll come back, the sort code is 400615. You can even say, pull this sort code in this format, which is what I really wanted to show you. Because not only will it pull the information, but you can tell it exactly what format you need that in. So you think about that for like downstream transformation requirements, where one system has it in this format, one system has it in that format. Well, those days are gone, because now I can tell you exactly what format to put that data in with prepended and appended characters, so that when it flows downstream is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You don't need to do another integration layer to transform that data. So I've got it, for some reason that doesn't work. I don't know why. I'll just check for questions. Can do some cheapy thing. I know, Alan. So my office is being completely refurbed at the minute, so I'm kind of sitting in a temporary place, and I normally have Ethernet in, but I haven't at the minute. So I'm right upstairs now, and the router is quite far away, unfortunately. Okay, so there's not much in there. Okay, so then finally, if we take a little bit more through Foundry, when you're doing your experimentation, we've got over 1,850 models now in Foundry. So if you haven't used Foundry yet, this is basically your intelligent application development platform. It's kind of like a one place to do everything you need. And you can see we've even got DeepSeek in there. We got the new OpenAI. We've got things like Mistral, I believe, in here. Yeah, we've got the Mistral. So we've got loads of open source. And obviously all of the OpenAI, you can't run OpenAI anywhere apart from OpenAI and us. So really nice place to come in. You can actually compare these things to each other as well. So we've got a comparison tool. You can fine tune. So if you find that the models aren't quite capturing some of your nuances or specific scenarios, you can fine tune. So you can take a base model and do fine tuning in here, which is great. You can do code generation, and we're going to go into a little bit of that now quickly. And then you can do agentic as well. So you can actually build smaller agents. I'm not going to go into agentic today because it's a really big topic, but the idea of agentic architecture, if you're hearing this buzz around the industry, is think about the contact center again. Agents are basically the people that are the contact center agents. They're the ones that are skilled doing stuff. If you think of those as the agents, then when someone's using that system, those requests or those questions or those concerns or those problems are being routed to the right skilled people. Ideally, right? We know contact centers don't really work like that. But if you think about a contact center with unlimited money, you would have literally a person skilled on doing every task. If money was no object and you could route, to the right person, you would have 10,000 people all doing very small things, because then they'll be experts at those small areas. You can do that now with agents. You can basically say, your specific task is this, and I'm only ever going to trigger you when these types of things are triggered. So for example, I've got a password reset problem to get into my computer. I'm going to send you down through the Active Directory password reset agent. And that's the only thing that agent does. But because now I've closed the context down of that LLM, then I know it's going to perform much more consistently than an LLM that I'm trying to get to be my contact center, if that makes sense. So the more things I try to make LLMs do, the more likely they are to go off piste. That bad to good. So inaccurate to accurate, professional to unprofessional. There's lots of different scales. We want it to stay on the straight and narrow on those scales when we set them. So agentic is the new way of doing that, by really tunnel visioning and focusing those LLMs to do specific tasks. My favorite part of this is prompt flow. So this one, I'll just show you something that I built recently-ish. This allows you, it's kind of agentic, but it's kind of a step in between. So what this allows you to do is, you can imagine now, someone asked about the context. The context we'll call inputs in here. And what this allows you to do, prompt flow, is very much like Power Automate or Microsoft Flow, if you ever used it. So what you can, or System Center Orchestrator, if you remember that tool, love that tool myself. What this allows you to do is spin off multiple flows, which is why it's called prompt flow, based on specific inputs. So for this example, this is another one that it was one of these very, very quick experimentations, is can I match people to job vacancies and score them? And can I match them to training courses based on their current level of skills and the jobs they want to go for? So this is really interesting, because what I can do is I can take a CV, which is here. You can see the structure of the information is terrible. That's a really good point as well. It doesn't really care about structure as long as it's got the context. That's LLMs in general. So that is so that's one of the jobs. That's the C. Oh, undo that. Sorry, just deleted. It's amazing how many times I actually do that. So one of them is the job, application, so the job advert. This one is then the CV. Again, terrible format, but it shows that it works. That one is another vacancy. These are training courses. And then basically when I run that, I'm not going to run it now because I haven't actually got it running. I wonder if I can see some outputs. Yeah, I've got some outputs. If I go to training course match for a plumber, this person in the CV was a plumber. So if I remember correctly, it means they don't match to any training courses. Yeah, no active training courses identified because the training courses that I've got available is already covered by his CV. He's already certified. But if I match him against a welder, then everything is slow tonight. If I match him to a welder, now I've got different welding courses that come back. So quite quickly, I can put this flow together, base it on synthetic data, which I can get Copilot to build my synthetic data for me. And then I can use this to build that business logic. And I don't care about kind of chaining stuff together because I can run this whole thing in parallel. But what comes out of it is, you could have literally the business stakeholder with you and saying, oh yeah, but can it do a little bit of this? Sure. Let's go down to this one and find these keywords out of the plumber and then add this one in. So you can see in each one of these, remember I said about system message and user prompt? I've got the same ability here to put the system message in. So that's the consistent, and then I can put a user prompt in as well. And there's nothing stopping me at this point surfacing this via a web app or a power app and getting the user to actually do this bit for me. So now I've got this really complex, very contextually aware and grounded, so you can ground data in this one as well, platform, which I can do really, really complex tasks in, but I don't have to write a single line of code. And that's basically it, guys. This is kind of the platforms I use to show LLMs and show what it can do, get ideation flowing. Like I said, when you go into production, very different, right? I'm not talking about production here. I'm talking about really, pre-prototype stuff. It's like, how can I fail fast, or how can I prove quickly? And how do I get my company thinking a bit differently about how we digitize and what automation actually means in this new era that we face ourselves. Cool. And that's about it, guys.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you for that. No, it's really good. I think sometimes jumping in and doing these kind of sessions, I find them really, really interesting because I think you end up going into places that you may not have gone in, people watching may not have gone into, and it just gives you more ideas. No, it's really good. Really, really like that. It was quite funny, actually. I was speaking to a customer today about, the agentic kind of AI conversation, and there's a really cool little demo that was displayed about all the different. It was for an insurance policy like an insurance claims handling system. So in other words, all different agents kind of made up, and they actually had an output of the agent, so they could like a chat bot really, but you could see the persona of the agent as it was doing its thinking, doing its processing, and giving its output. So it's like a human in the loop, as they call it. You can see when an agent is like checking a policy, checking what the claim is, and all these different agents doing it. I thought that was a really good kind of display of the output and showing how all these agents can, kind of little smiley face with a man with a hat on was the manager agent who was like orchestrating what to do next sort of thing. So it's quite just like you say, it's mind blowing, isn't it? All the stuff that you can get up to and quickly.
Yeah, and agentic is going to be the architecture that we land on with this stuff. So there's two things. There's going to be reasoning models like DeepSeek and like the new deep research from OpenAI. If you haven't seen them and used them, be careful of DeepSeek. You can run the model in our platform. I would recommend that. Do not use the web version of it. But look at the way they are slightly different. As John was saying, they are reasoning with themselves before they answer. So it's just giving a much more solid answer, if that makes sense. And then the experience of showing what is happening and keeping humans in the loop. That is up to us as digital experts to make sure that we're building those experiences into our intelligent systems. But it is absolutely fascinating.
Does Foundry surface that chain of thought stuff from DeepSeek? Can you actually see that conversation? I haven't played with it in Foundry yet, but it's worth taking a look if anyone's seen it before, because it's a fascinating process as to how it generates answers.
It is fascinating. So yeah, when you use it, to be fair, I haven't provisioned it in Foundry yet, but when you use it, it shows you its thought process, which what basically is happening in the background is it's got agentic architecture in the background. So when you prompt it, that prompt kicks off like reasoning questions. So it's got a bunch of reasoning stuff in its database, and then or it's in its algorithm, and then it's again those are contextually aware as well, which is incredible architecture. And yeah, it basically. It's funny because there was one that was shown live on stage in one of our big events, and they asked it a simple question like, "What color is the sky?" And it generated about 10,000 tokens to go blue. But it was showing the thought process. It was showing all the tokens all the time. It was going round and round and round and round. And it was like, "Did they want more of an answer than just blue?" Or something? And then it just went, "I'll just keep it simple, blue." But
this is what the race is on. This is the race now, isn't it? With all these different models, and the larger models, the mini models. It's all about that race to who can answer the questions the quickest and with the best reasoning and the most intricate output, right? So,
well, yeah. Apart from the fast, I think that as users, we're going to start to accept the fact that computers take a little longer than instant.
Yeah.
It depends on the task, right? Because if you use deep research, I haven't got that to hand because it costs about $200 a month, so it's quite expensive. But the deep research from OpenAI is evidence of that. So if you say to it, I want you to research, say, I don't know, forestry growth, regenerative forestry growth in Africa, it's incredible what it puts together. And the different data sources it goes off and finds. And the citation list is sometimes over a page of citations. That's how good it is. So instead of it going out...
I was reading some articles the other day, and they were talking about now we're potentially in the age where computers are going to start winning Nobel Peace Prizes and things like that. And computers are going to win awards for the... who knows, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, Tim,
so there we go. So then there was
a
really good point from John again. So I'll just finish that so it's not sitting there. Sounds like you were saying this is a much better approach than the traditional RPA type software. Alan, it depends, right? Because if your workflow is really consistent, RPA is going to be cheap and consistent and solid for you. What this is very good at is the uncertain workflow that us as humans have to pick up, because it's all language based, it's contextual, it's scenario based, it's unique. That's where we're seeing this is playing the big part. So if it's general RPA, like this file comes in, I need to process this, that off. Nah, why would you bother using an LLM for that? You can automate that 100%. When I talk about experimentation and using LLMs for everything, it's because you can now, right? You don't have to build an RPA for me to pull out a sort code from a picture of a bank statement. Now, how long would that take? I know it didn't work, but trust me, it does. How long would that take in an RPA world? Number one is, what is that RPA software? Oh, don't know. Who's the team that does that? Okay, I'll raise a service request for that. Even if you're in there, right, and you're an admin of it, now I've got to create a new flow. Where's the data source coming in? Oh, okay. How do I create, so all of a sudden you've got days and days and days on your hands when I can do it off the cuff. That's what I'm saying about experimentation with LLMs. The other one then is a lot of money running a large model for small task, 100%. I showed 3.5 Turbo doing some tasks in the initial part. If you watch the recording, I switched from 3.5 Turbo to 4.0. So I went from cheap to very expensive We've got even more cheaper. There's mini models coming out, so small language models coming out. There's things like vectorization, which we didn't get into, but it's converting like English text into tokens basically, and we have specific models that just do that task and they're really, really cheap. So you wouldn't use an LLM for like a chunky LLM to do vectorization, for example. You'd use what we call an embedded LLM. But that is all part of the fun of designing these things and the different models that exist. And as John said, we're gonna see this race and these models dropping all the time, and we still genuinely we still don't know where they're going to go, but alignment is one that's going to start to eke into the models, which is not massively strong at the minute. And then reasoning is now starting to be built in, which is making them more accurate and complete.
Yeah, for sure. Lots to learn. Brilliant.
Cool.
Thank you, Tim.
There we go. I squeezed all that in half an hour, didn't I?
No, it's brilliant. No, really good. Enjoyed that one. I think it's, kudos. Thank you for jumping on as well, Tim, and kind of just doing that, because I think, sometimes it's just too easy to talk about these things. As soon as you jump into and actually show it in action, regardless if it works or not, we love the demo gods, don't we? But we all get it. I think we're all grown up enough to know what it should have looked like, as they say in Blue
Honestly,
Peter.
that image thing has never failed me.
Ah, it's always it's the Welsh user group. It's going to fail.
We didn't mention the reputation, did we?
No, thanks a lot, Tim. Honestly, if everybody wants to show their appreciation for Tim, then use the react button or come off mute. But no, really appreciate it, Tim. We'll have to catch up at some point soon anyway. But stick around as well. We're going to do the quiz now, Tim. So feel free.
Okay.
You got to stick around for that. And you'll see Matt's little baby as well.
Yeah.
So we'll hand over to Matt for those that are going to stick around, and we'll jump into the quiz. Over to you, Mr. Fadunka.
Everyone should be able to see that. One caveat you will find is that I'd actually prepared this based on both talks. So there's a whole load of responsible AI questions in there, which you may or may not be prepared to answer. So it's going to be a fastest finger first and best guesser. Okay, so let's kick it off.
I'm going to join in, see how bad I perform. It's probably worth reminding the new people on the call, Matt, that this is a platform that was built by yours truly, right?
Yeah. And if you want to go back to, I'm trying to remember when it would be now, 2022, 2021?
It was a while back, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's a talk that I did about the building of this. It's evolved a bit since then. Like I said in the chat, it's got a Copilot in it now. There was a change I put through last month, so to add folders to it as well. But it's something from behind the scenes. There's a backlog of stuff. The code is all on GitHub. If you want to go and see it, I can put a link in the chat for that. And we've got 10 questions. And what are we doing tonight? Top two, John?
Why not? Yeah. Why not? How much it costs, Matt, roughly, to run? Just I'm assuming you mainly use it for this monthly quiz.
I've made some. The most expensive part is it's using a thing called SignalR behind the scenes, which is a web relay type technology. So it means that you don't have to keep refreshing and posting back, and there's a thing called Azure SignalR service, which is probably the most expensive part of it. But I can scale that up and down as and when I need it. So the rest is like an app service and what else is on there? That's about it, really. It's an app service, pretty much. An app service with some code on it. So let's kick off. I think if everyone's ready, 11. That sounds about right,
isn't it? Yeah. Let's go for it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. A lot of these you should be able to guess at, I think. Name of the service that can detect harmful content in AI requests. Those are all AI services. Well done. Everyone got that one. Which of the following is not part of content safety? So they should be all pretty guessable, I would hope. It's also worth pointing out a lot of I think 2 out of the 3 of the ones that are right are in preview. So, but there's some fascinating stuff in content safety. Yeah, denial of service prevention. Yeah, that's a completely different service and completely unrelated to AI. What was the original name of Azure AI Foundry? Did I spell Foundry wrong?
They missed a trick. I prefer AI Notepad there, Matt. They could have had Clippy back and everything, couldn't they?
Yes.
AI Clippy. Looks like you're creating an agent.
It was Azure OpenAI Studio.
Plus
yeah, I thought
custom.
I'd spelled Foundry wrong. Thanks, Tim. It may have been AI generated, actually, funnily enough. What exam is Azure AI Fundamentals?
AI. Oh.
Couldn't resist.
There's always one.
That's the advanced version, isn't it, Matt?
Yep, it's AI 900. All of our fundamentals are 900 based, I think. What is one of the primary benefits of using, I spelled it right this time, Azure AI Foundry? This was definitely an AI generated question, and I don't know whether or not I agree with it, but there you go. What's the name of the platform that hosts open source LLMs?
If you weren't in this industry, you'd think all of them were fake.
Yes. I'm sure at some point they've all been created as services related to AI. Oh, interesting one about DeepSeek. How much did NVIDIA stock drop by on the day DeepSeek was announced? I think it's since recovered, but
NVIDIA has. AMD is just dropping like a bomb at the minute.
is it?
Well, AMD are being shut out of the game, aren't they?
It was an eye-watering sum of money that they lost on one day and then recovered it back again.
What's the advantage of all this is being poor, so you can't afford to invest in any of them, so it doesn't really matter.
How are Azure OpenAI service models build?
You talking PTUs?
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 Clearly not.
Per million tokens is the delineation for usage. Which model would I use to summarize a paragraph of text? And which model family is probably a better way of describing that, but
Just seen D's comment Clippy Studio. That would be much better, wouldn't it?
oh, done. Last one, I think. When does MS Build start this year?
Oh.
It was announced about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Miss that one.
We should know this, John, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I missed it. I did miss it.
It's going to be a biggie.
Is it in Seattle or are we doing a UK? Or do
It's in Seattle this time. It's the 19th of May.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be regional events going on as well. They usually are. And that, our winner for tonight is Simon.
Simon and Tim.
With Tim in second. Yeah. Well done, Tim.
There we go. There we go.
Well done.
Do me a favour, Simon. Which Simon is it? Let me have a quick look. Is there only one Simon?
Is that Simon Barrett?
It is Simon, is it? Simon Barrett. If it is, drop me your email as a prompt, Simon, in the chat. And Tim, I got your email. You that with me, we'll get the voucher sent across.
Oh, don't send me a voucher.
ASAP. Do you want to defer? You can defer to D, Mr. Bolt in third place.
Defer to the Bolt.
Ah, there we go then. D, you can thank Mr. Hinchey there. He's deferring to you,
Very
so you got a
kind, thank you.
voucher. So D, yeah, do me a favour. Yeah, thanks, Simon. Drop yours in there if you can for me, D. It just acts as my little reminder, and I'll get that sorted for you. Okie dokie. Right, let's bring this to close. Let me just get my slides back up. Oh hum, oh hum. And there we are. Right, okay. Right, let's bring this to an end then. So, look, everybody, thank you. Apologies for the shortened version of the Azure user group for tonight. As I say, thoughts go out to Tayyeba and her family. Clearly she's had a bereavement, so couldn't be helped at all. And like I say, we'll hopefully get Tayyeba on a session in the very near future. But look, thank you. Huge thanks to Tim for coming on, doing an awesome demo there of Azure AI Foundry and just having an all-up chat around different models and AI in general. Hopefully you found it as useful as I did. Thank you, Tim. Much appreciated. And thank you to everybody that's joined, for all you lot for turning up again and spending a couple of hours to come and say hello and learn a little bit of information about Azure. So on that note, we will call it there. Thank you once again to all for joining. If you want to bookmark the date, the next event is on the 19th of March. As usual, we always try and aim for the third Wednesday of every month. So stick that in your diary. That'll be going up on Meetup fairly soon. And for now, we'll call it. So until next time, we'll see you on the 19th. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next
Cheers,
time.
bye.
See you soon.
Bye.